What's up, historians and fellow dorks? Now, have any of you out there tossed back a few and thought, time to craft some cards? Well, I know I have, so tonight on Mana Rant, we'll be talking about how to avoid wildcard crafting mistakes, and 100 card Historic Brawl is an awesome new format, but Wizards has made some crazy changes to it. And as always, they've done a piss poor job of explaining it to any of us. So luckily, we got the tips and tricks for you guys to get you into Historic Brawl and having a good time. But first, I'll be your host tonight. I'm Hoshi, he who has 2 scotches and proceeds to flush his wild cards right down the toilet. You know. Yeah. And as always, I'm joined by a man who's no stranger to burning a wild card or two himself, or as he likes to call them, Waka Waka wild cards. We have DrunkenDork.
Is that what I call him? I don't ever remember ever saying that ever in my life.
I've heard it.
But sure. And I'm pretty good when it comes to burning wild cards. I'm a stingy motherfucker.
That is true. You like to hoard them.
I told myself I wouldn't cuss for the first 2 minutes, and I left the F-bomb immediately. Jeez.
First word.
Yeah.
You're doing
Not
great.
good.
And our other co-host, Apollo, is still in Air Force boot camp, so he's going to be out for a little while longer, which is sad because he has by far been the worst offender of drunken wildcard spending.
Yes.
Many of nights, he has lost to us and then been like, I'm going to just craft a brand new deck. And
my God. And it's so, I'm going to touch on this real quick. It's so funny because we'll like beat him and then he's a broke ass motherfucker and he'll be like, okay, I'll spend the last $100 in my account on gems, and then so not only is he spending all his wild cards, but all of his real money on MTG Arena, and it's great. It's always a good time watching that.
Yeah, in the morning we get some sorrow texts of what have I done?
Great life decisions.
Yeah,
great
definitely.
Life decisions.
Anyways, thank you for joining us. We are the Mana Dorks, and if you're new to our weird show, welcome. We talk about everything in Magic, but mainly focused on the historic format and including Historic Brawl. Our show moves through the phases of Magic, so we have our Untap, Upkeep, Draw, Main Phase 1, Combat, Main Phase 2, End Step, Cleanup, and finally Discard Phase. Our main phases are going to be the main topics tonight that I already talked about, and so if you want to hop around, there will be time hacks, as well as a full breakdown of all the episode, things that we're going to be talking about, deck text and all that stuff in the description below. Now that that's out of the way, let's jump into our show and get things started off with our Untap phase.
Untap.
All right. As always, we start off Magic with some drinks. So we're going to untap some drinks real quick. So, Drunken, what are you untapping tonight?
I just got a light IPA. It's like 100 cal IPA. Going light tonight.
Nice, dude.
It's only like 3.5% or something. 4%. Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Oh, pretty cool.
What debaucherous concoction do you have tonight?
This is it's called a Ward 8, I guess. I don't know. We had some blood orange juice laying around the house, and so the girlfriend found this on the internet, and I know I've heard of it before, but I don't think I've ever had it. So it's rye whiskey and orange juice as far as I know, and some other stuff. So
sounds absolutely disgusting.
Not my favorite, but it's still drinkable, you know.
Called it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. It might grow on me.
Technically, anything's still drinkable, you know. It's a matter of enjoying it is the real treat there.
That is true. All right. Well, that was our untap step. Cheers, DrunkenDork, and cheers to everyone out there. Now, let's move on to our upkeep. Upkeep, get ya upkeep. Ooh, it's growing on me. All right, so upkeep is our Reddit Rant segment, and Reddit Rant is where we scour the internet for people ranting and raving about Magic the Gathering. I've been known to rant and rave myself from time to time, but this week In a shocking Reddit rant investigation, we'll be visiting the MTG Arena Facebook group that will lead us down a dark road to the vile depths of Twitter itself. Bum, bum, bum. So, let's get to the Facebook group and let's look at Ryan Soma and his revelation that he has. Star City Games columnist Benny Smith bragged last night about roping people on Arena if he doesn't like your deck. Someone with such poor sportsmanship isn't someone we should be reading for advice on Magic. Oh, man, it wouldn't be Facebook or Reddit post if there wasn't some like awful grammar to struggle through, but there we go. Anyways, let's look at what this Twitter post is from. Have you ever heard of this guy before, Drunken? No?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
know,
Star City Games.
Yeah, this is something else. Go for it, man.
All right, so he throws a tweet out there. He said, decided to spend some time this afternoon trolling the historic Brawl queue. If my opponent is playing an asshole deck and 80% plus R, I minimize the screen at the opening hand and let the time out while I work on my column. Wow, what a dick. Right?
Yeah. Wow.
What a total asshole. So this guy, he got flamed. So let's go and dive into his Twitter account while we're at it. Let's hunt him down because spoiler alert, the comments under this are not super supportive of his decision.
Oh, I would imagine not. Yeah, this is
So here he is, Benny.
Cocksucker move.
Yeah, Benny apparently literally wrote the book on Commander. He did. Oh, he also calls himself professional in magic. Says blah blah blah. He called himself an optimist. There we go, an optimist that ropes people. Pretty great. So here was his. By the way, that tweet is not on here anymore. It's been deleted. So if you're looking for it on his page, it's gone. I'm sure the comments on that were just super sweet. But he has an apology one right here. So let's see if his apology makes up for it. So it's no surprise to a lot of you that I passionately wish Brawl on Arena was closer to Commander than every other competitive format out on the platform. And I got super grumpy this afternoon and roped some people, and that was stupid on my part, and I apologize for it. That was not fair to the people who enjoy the format as it exists. Please know that I won't be doing that again, and I hope I have learned to be better. So that's.
I mean, at least he apologized, but like, it's just dude, he must have been raging hard to put this on Twitter or just be a complete fucking idiot. Like, because like,
absolutely.
You just don't, especially when you're a columnist, you have to really proofread what you're going to put online because everyone sees it. And then people, like Ryan Soma, they take screenshots of things like this and then they post it. So
forever on the internet. Forever on the internet. Yeah.
So Benny, you're going to be known as the guy who fucking ropes people, and you better hope that you don't play a live streamer, and you do this because they'll just have, fucking wood for the fire, right?
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
They'll post it and post it in Twitter or social media. So this is ridiculous. You should never do this, people. This is absolutely obnoxious.
Very tone deaf. The other thing that really annoys me about this is that he passionately wishes that it was Brawl or that it was closer to Commander. And so how is he going to take out his frustrations about what Wizards isn't doing? He's going to shit on the people that actually enjoy the game to what he considers asshole decks, it's like which just makes him sound such a bigger douche in his apology. Like at the end he's like, and I hope I'm better, but at the same time he's kind of just like saying that like, I'm shitting on Arena, guys, that's why I was grumpy and fucking roping people like an absolute douche. So Benny, hopefully you are getting better and getting the rage help that you need, because that is some serious dick stuff to do. You wouldn't do that to somebody out in the real world. So why would you do it to them, someone in the Magic community, especially if you're such a huge part of this community? Why would you just like fuck over players like that on the internet? So Benny, pull your head out of your ass. I feel like this apology only came after like thousands of rage comments probably flooded his way. But on the bright side, Benny, at least people have heard of you now. I never heard of you before, so
must be a big commander like guy,
maybe.
Obviously.
Yeah, any publicity is good publicity, I guess. So anyways, that was Reddit Rant. This was a Reddit Rant investigation this week. But if you guys find a good Reddit Rant out there, send it our way. We love to read this stuff and, punish people who do stupid stuff like this on the internet. With that,
absolutely,
let's move into a draw phase. Let's draw. So draw is another quick phase where we are going to go over some MTG arena news this week. So let's take a look at, not that guy, let's take a look at some arena news that we got going on. Take it away, Drunken.
All right, so this week for their arena update, we have a big update coming August 24th that is going to go, let's see, it's going to go live at 5:30 a.m. is what it looks like.
No, they're taking it down. That's
they're taking it down at 5:30 a.m. and it's coming back up at 11 a.m. And basically what this is doing, it's fixing a bunch of stuff. They're adding in Historic Horizons, although it's not going to be live to play until the 26th. And I believe this is where they're adding in the historic. They're taking down Historic Brawl Fest and adding in the Historic Brawl Queue. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So, and the green there.
Yeah, I mean, Wizards of the Coast is never, like, crystal clear about what they're doing, obviously, from the past 2 episodes where we're like, oh, yeah. I was like,
it's coming out the 12th, or the 21st, or the 24th, or the 26th, what the fuck?
Or the 10th.
Or
yeah,
the 10th,
at one point we're like, what the fuck are you guys doing over there?
Right?
Who's right? No one's proofreading these? What's going on?
I imagine their calendar just has like strings, red strings with like pins attached.
They got the Charlie shit going on, the Charlie Day shit.
Exactly.
It's fucking Pepe Sylvia.
Yeah.
Writing all these. Okay, and to keep going, we still have the no entry premiere drafts going right now. I think Kaladesh is, let's see, today is the 19th, so tomorrow's going to be your last day to do the free Kaladesh draft. Did you do the Kaladesh draft or the, what was the one before it?
It was Amonkhet before that one. I did the Amonkhet one. I know I really need to get to the Kaladesh one. And then Ikoria. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't done this yet, people, like, draft's one of the best ways to get rares. So, take advantage of this while you can.
Yeah, I mean, I actually didn't do the Amonkhet one because I'm an idiot, and I did the Kaladesh one, and I really enjoyed it. It's super fun. So if you haven't done it yet, do it tonight, do it tomorrow. Kaladesh is a great draft set.
Yeah.
And then after Kaladesh, from the 20th to the 26th is Ikoria, Lair of Behemoth, also free, or First Century is free, and that is also another really fun draft set because you can make monsters and stuff.
Yeah.
And then finally, we have a schedule of the events that are going to be happening. August 24th through the 26th is standard 2022. Starts after August 24th downtime. I don't know what this is.
It's for the midweek Magic, yeah. So it's kind of like their Friday Night Magic thing that they had going on. They changed it to midweek now. So it took place yesterday, which it takes place on Wednesday. I think generally. So I think that's what it is. Because I did that yesterday, and it sucked. It was all Winona's, but you get 2 free wild cards out of it. So or 2 free rares, not wild cards. Sorry.
And then you didn't highlight this, but I think it definitely needs to be highlighted. August 31st is Historic Pauper. Nice. Quick draft, which I think sounds super fun, and I am definitely going to do.
Absolutely.
And then August 12th to the 24th, we have the Historic Brawl Fest. We already talked about that.
Yep.
We have these premiere drafts. And then starting August 24th, Historic Brawl Q is up. And then 26 is Jumpstart Historic Horizons, which all of us are super excited for.
Yeah.
I can
absolutely
not wait. Next week is going to be like nothing but magic for me.
Yeah.
That is for damn sure.
So I wanted to highlight one more thing about this. The Historic Brawl queue is August 24th through September 9th. They told us this was going to be a permanent queue at first, right?
Or more is what they said.
Or more, yeah, because what they set up here is we'll be gathering information on how active the queue is during this time, and we'll be announcing more plans for the queue beyond September 9th.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck that means, yeah.
I think they're going to kind of explore this. This is what I'm hoping, actually, because right now the queue is for 100 card, and I'm hoping they explore like the type of Historic Brawl, like whether it's Friendly Brawl or Historic Brawl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then they could try the 60 card queue for a while.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
that'll be a different turnout. And that's really what I'm hoping. But maybe they're just seeing like how many people participate in the queue, and like that is dependent. The numbers, you know, that's always what drives something is numbers.
That's true.
And so they're just gonna see whether this like pans out to be like successful.
We'll see
as a queue or not. I imagine it'll probably be more successful than stupid ass Brawl, because Brawl's terrible.
Brawl is terrible. It can't not be more successful than that. The other thing that I think you missed there was they're doing double rewards for next season. On the so if you don't like grinding the rank ladder, this might be the one time to really get into it, because they're gonna double the packs and the like cosmetics that you get from the next one is like a we're sorry type deal for them fucking up with the historic
Horizons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So hey, double rewards. So I'm gonna be grinding ladder, even though I'm not a huge fan of it. I'll try and see how I can get, because hey, if you get to Mythic, you get 10 packs for that. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I am really bummed. I just want to touch on this, that I didn't get to play Amonkhet, because I think out of all the sets I drafted, like I've drafted Amonkhet in person like multiple times, and it's so much fun. It's like
it was
one
great.
of my favorite sets to draft.
Yeah. I had a blast playing it. I didn't get to finish it out. That was what pissed me off. I thought it was going to go much longer. It's very short, these little free drafts they're giving you. They're like, you get a couple days. Good luck getting them in. Where usually I play draft like over like a week or something, so I thought I had more time.
Yeah, that's how I normally do it too.
Yeah,
but Kaladesh, I only got 4 wins, and then I failed, so
yeah,
you know, that's what really stopped me.
All right, well then, that was our draw phase. Let's move on to main phase 1.
Main phase 1.
And for main phase 1 tonight, we're going over some wild card mistakes to avoid. All right, so let's just hop straight into this, because I believe that me and Apollo are probably like the masters of wild card mistakes. So definitely these first ones that we're going over, I've got some experience in here, so you can take me at my value for this. So the first one that we're going over is don't drink and craft.
Don't drink and craft. I completely agree. I generally don't do this, but I watch, this idiot and the other idiot who's not here right now do it all the time, especially Apollo. I think most decisions while you're drunk is probably generally a bad decision, unless you're buying a kegerator, then it's
yeah, that's the good decision.
But that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. I've rarely made, crafting decisions when I was hammered, where I was like, that was a good call right there. That deck that I made, super sweet. Yeah. It's mainly Brawl decks too. It's generally not like historic normal decks that I craft when I'm drunk. It's usually like Brawl stuff. I'm like, I need to fill this deck out with some more fun stuff. And then, terrible decisions ensue. So don't do that. Avoid drinking and crafting. So next, don't rage craft.
I actually touch on this exactly like I would drunken crafting. I think they almost go hand in hand. Like generally for, I don't do a lot of drunken crafting. I also don't do a lot of rage crafting, but if I do one, it's both. You know, like it's that I have lost like 6 consecutive games, and you know, I've had a few beers. I'm like, I need to make this. I need to add this card in my green white taxes deck that I don't have yet, and it's gonna change the game. And it never does. Like that's never like this one card is 4 copies of it or whatever. It ends up making it a worse deck probably, you know, because then against all these other decks that I play, like I've always noticed that my green white taxes deck, for example, it's bad against elves. So I'm like, oh, what can I add to, you know, be better against elves? And then I make some stupid decision.
Yep.
And then there's 4 of my wild cards, and those things are valuable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that we didn't really touch on, which we should have. That should have been the first thing that we talked about was how valuable wild cards are for Historic. They're way more valuable for us than it is for you know, a standard player, because their card pool is way more limited than ours is. So the chance what we can spend our wild cards on is a vast amount of stuff. So you know, like making critical decisions with your wild cards can really you know, help or really hurt you in making some good decks later on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
oh, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been reading a lot about this week, and basically what I came down to for Historic players is, because we have a much wider card pool, you have to look at wild cards as like how often you get them, and you get them, what they say is about every 6 to 1 packs, right? Like 5 point something.
Yeah.
So that means one rare wild card, that's rare wild card, is worth about like 5,000 gold.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot of gold.
Yeah.
So you really have to think about that when you're making cards or making decks, is like, you know, we'll go into that, but yeah, that is a high cost. And then a mythic rare, mythic wild card is even more. I think it's about every what is it, like 24 to 1. So that's a lot of fucking gold. That's like 20. It ends up being about 22,000 gold or something like that for one mythic wild card.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It is. But don't ragecraft. So if you lose to some like weird specific deck and you're like, I need to counter this with something else weird, fight the urge to do that most of the time. I have done that. I'm very guilty of this. I've done this a lot because I've gotten like heated over losing to like, you know, some form of deck that popped up, like because some streamer played it or something, you know, and it's like prevalent for like a week and then goes away. So yeah, I've definitely made some bad decisions there. Next we have don't craft overpowered new decks. So a new deck that just came out that is just crushing absolutely everything. Nothing can stop this deck. You probably don't want to craft that.
So I agree with this and I don't agree with it. You know, we talk about it in one of these other segments in this main phase, but you really have to evaluate the deck and look at what's in it, right? Yeah, you're right. If it is a super powered deck with a single card, that a single component that makes it powerful, we'll use Oko for example.
Yeah.
Right. So if like green blue Oko is annihilating, but Oko is like the main drive of this deck, but it's also overpowering other decks, then it's probably a good idea to not craft that deck, because sure, if they ban Oko, you get your 4 mythic wildcards back, but you don't get all those other wildcards. And that's really what you have to look at. You have to look at deck trends and what they're doing. And I think that is the more important part about this. But yes, I agree, like, definitely do your research before you want to, like, build a deck.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And if crafting this deck is not that hard on you, like that one card that's going to make it super overpowered is the one that you don't have, then that you think is possibly going to get banned, then craft that one. Who cares, right? Because if they ban that, you'll get those wilds back. But if you're missing a bunch of other cards that like are dependent on making that deck, like I think about the Thassa's Oracle, like Tainted Pack deck, right? Like, you're stuck with Tainted Pack, a card that like is useless basically now, right? So if you had to craft all those Tainted Packs, that sucks. You're stuck with those afterwards. They were dependent upon like Thassa's Oracle to make that deck usable. So yeah, you got the Thassa's Oracle rares back, but you spent maybe who knows how many rares trying to like build that deck out. So I think an easy way to spot this is if a deck is like, I think they said like 40% of the meta or something like that, there's a huge chance that a ban is coming down on that deck. So keep an eye on those meta levels if you're thinking about crafting something, and like, where you stand in there.
And a good way to do that is MTG Arena Helper or Assistant and MTG Goldfish. Like, you can check those sources, and they both give you percentages on what decks are on top and what their win percentage is.
Yeah. Or listen to us. We do a metagame showdown thing most other weeks when we're not swamped with arena news. So let's get to the next one. Don't skimp on the lands.
So this is one I definitely added in there, and like I am very adamant about. Lands are probably like one of the single most important. Well, you can't have a deck without lands, right? But like the versatile lands, like the castles, and the dual lands are like super important in like most decks. And not only are they important in a single deck, but they're important in multiple decks, which we could probably talk about for accessibility after this. But like that's the great thing about crafting lands. If you build a deck that's say black blue and it's a rogues deck, and eventually the next set comes out and rogues aren't viable, those lands with historic are always going to be used though. That's the important thing is like in there, maybe rogues aren't viable, but then there's blue-black control, or there's Esper control, or Esper humans, or who knows what the hell. And so you can still use those lands, and that's what makes crafting lands not like a deficit to your mana cards, or your wild cards, I should say.
Absolutely, 100% agree. Lands are insanely important, and with all the utility lands and stuff we're getting, they're always safe craft bets because you're always going to be able to use them in the future. Lands are staples for sure. Don't shy away from the rare ones. All right, let's. So that was a bunch of like don't do's, right? Avoid those things. But, we'll give you some advice of stuff to actually do as well when you're crafting wildcards, So do wait for the meta to stabilize.
This is super important. And this is one that when I first got back into Magic in like 2013 or 2012 or whenever it was, I had this problem where I was like, I won a few FNMs, so I thought I was like the smartest fucking person in the world, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna build some dope ass deck like when a new set was releasing, and I would pre-purchase all these cards because of course Arena wasn't around yet, and I make this deck I thought was gonna be like really good, and it wasn't. And at the end of the day, I ended up just wasting a bunch of cards. Now, with that being said, we are fortunate enough in Arena where it stabilizes pretty quickly.
Yeah,
so,
it does.
Like that deck, I lost, and then I lost some more, but it wasn't until about a month or two later that the meta really stabilized on paper. Now with Arena, the meta stabilizes within a week. So if you just wait a week, you'll see what decks are on top. And they generally, in Historic, don't change much. Because there's not enough cards to really change things around. You may have a new deck, but like the old decks are going to be viable generally. Yeah, exactly. Especially while people are screwing around the first couple weeks or so. Yeah. I find myself a huge offender of this because I get excited about like some new deck that I want to make, and I'll be like, the second it drops, I'll be like when slivers are coming out, I'm going to be like, ooh, burning just wild cards on that, Yeah. That one I'm okay with because I love that deck anyways, so I'm all right with burning those. But, make that decision, right? Like, usually wait and see if it actually stabilizes out, because there are a couple decks that I've, you can look at the predictions that people make. How often are even any of the pros like 100% on all their, like, this is going to be like the top 5 cards, right? I know we always screw up at least a little bit. We always get a couple of them right, but I mean, we always miss a couple. And from what I've seen, every pro
does the same thing too, or every other like professional Magic caster or whatever. They always miss a few as well. So yeah, just wait a little bit.
Yeah.
So next,
Absolutely.
do draft rares.
Yes. Okay. So everything I have read about acquiring wildcards or rares or mythics, the best way you can ever do it is premium draft. And basically what this is saying is don't be afraid when you're drafting to draft good rares, like to draft set rares, especially if you're watching this, you're a historic player. So if you're playing Kaldheim and you see, I don't know, one of the constructs, what are those, like the blue one that grabs instant or sorcery out of your graveyard, whatever that guy's called.
Oh yeah, that's not from Kaldheim, that's Kaladesh, but yeah.
Kaladesh, I mean.
Yeah,
Kaladesh.
The Gear Hulk. Yeah.
If you see a Gear Hulk, grab it. You know, whether it's in your colors or not, it's just a good grab. Or say you're doing Guilds of Ravnica. If you see a Shockland, fucking grab that shit if you don't have it, you know, because it's just a valuable card to have, and it's not going to offset your draft too much, you know. I think it's very important to do this just because you want to build out your collection, and it's really hard to do in Historic without spending a bunch of wild cards.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm drafting, like the only time I see like I'll get that like rare that'll pop up and I'll be like, you know, oh, that's an awesome rare. But in that same pack, there'll be like some card that's really good for the set that I'm drafting right now, like the deck that I'm actually drafting. So I'm like, oh man, this card's not going to come back around again. You know, I won't see this one, but neither will the rare, right? So like, which one do I go for? And so, you know, this is pretty like exactly. I've been reading the same things. Go for the rares. Screw the other one. Whatever. You still might win a couple matches, right? And no matter how good the deck that you draft, remember, this is Arena. You could still get mana screwed, right? Or your opponent could get mana screwed and you can have a terrible deck. So, like, you know, go for the rares. Like, always go for the rares. Yeah, always.
If they're valuable, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would probably do it anyways because I'm greedy. But next, do craft staples.
Yeah, this is super important. This is something we've touched on before, is you want versatility in your cards. So you want to look at like the meta and be like, okay, if you go to any reputable source like MTG Goldfish, you can look at the top cards in the historic meta specifically. And, you know, number one is Thoughtseize. This is a great card to craft, you know, when you're looking at decks, because rare wildcards, like we've been saying, are very valuable. But if you craft 4 Thoughtseize, this card isn't going to be going away anytime soon, I don't think. And it's going to be viable in multiple decks. They use Thoughtseize in aggro decks. They use Thoughtseize in mid-range decks. They use Thoughtseize in control decks. So, like, you know, even if aggro isn't working at the time, it's almost like the lands. You know, you move it to the mid-range version, or you move it to the control version. So this card's always going to be a viable card in the format, you know, and that's why it just doesn't feel as bad.
Absolutely. Yeah, staples are huge. So if you can, you know, that's why the good stuff decks are usually pretty good to you know, waste wild cards on, because those cards in like the good stuff decks, which is that's basically a deck that's full of staples that are probably not going to go away. Where if you're crafting like weird artifact decks and stuff, there's probably some cards in there that are only going to work in that deck. You know, like elves and stuff like that. Like elves are only going to work in elf decks, right? So it
generally,
so it's a gamble with those. So you're not getting a lot of staples in an elf deck, unfortunately, except for Llanowar Elf, really. You know, most of the other cards are not at all. They're worthless in other decks. So be careful about drafting those kind of decks if your card pool is low. But yeah, because staples are awesome, and we're gonna touch on some Brawl staples later because everyone's getting into 100 card Brawl. So the staples in Brawl are way different than the ones in Historic. So we'll touch on those next. Do try uncommons and other rares first before crafting that wild card.
Okay. Yeah. So this is actually something I do every time a set comes out. I want to ask you a question, Hoshi. How many uncommons and common wildcards do you currently have?
Oh man, I don't even know. It's like 1,000 or something. It's unlimited as far as I'm concerned. I have so many.
Okay, so this is something that I think Apollo told me he read online, and I started doing, and it actually helps. So when a new set is coming out, before I open a single pack, I craft every single common and uncommon you can craft. Right now I have like 20 like uncommons, wildcards, and 30 common wildcards available because I do this.
Wow.
Because what happens when you do this is it adds more to your bank.
Your vault,
like the
vault thing.
Your vault.
I heard that it doesn't. So I'm not sure.
It actually does, yeah.
Okay.
You can see your vault leveling up like very quickly when you do this.
Okay.
And so I do this that way. I get more vault progress, which in turn gives me more rare and more mythic wild cards, which is exactly what I want. But yeah, what do you have to say about this?
So what I was trying to say about this is if you're looking at a deck, right, that this happens all the time to me, I feel like, where someone will post some awesome deck and I want to try it out, but I'm missing a couple rares for it, and I either don't have the wild cards to like fill in a couple spots, or I don't really want to spend the wild cards on those rares because they're not staples, right? So I'm kind of like afraid of like spending the wilds on those because I don't know how usable those cards will be. So what I will do is try and use an uncommon or maybe another rare that I have and slot that into that deck and see if it can fill that hole of that, that deck. And sometimes I found out that those cards turn out to be better than the ones that are in the deck. Even uncommon sometimes can be better than rares. So if you're afraid of crafting some rares, try slotting something else in that net deck that you're looking at, right? Before, and then if you feel those cards are inadequate in that deck and that rare that's in that net deck is actually you think that will be better, then you're crafting from a more informed decision at that point, right? So you'll probably be more happy with your wildcard craft at that point.
So yeah, this is I'd say crafting rares and using uncommons, it's kind of like evaluating the deck and what cards you have is kind of a little different than what I was thinking. But yeah, so that is very important. I agree with that. I do this all the time when I'm building decks. It's like I look at the deck, I look at what cards my deficit there, like what cards I don't have. And what cards it needs. So if it's something like, this is going back to like making cards that are staples, right? Like if I see cards in there that are not staples or they're not viable in pretty much anything else, like I've been playing Magic long enough, I understand what cards are and are not viable in other decks. I do exactly what you said. I try and find something that is similar, right? So say something calls for Anger of the Gods. Now that is a viable card and it is used in multiple decks, but it's not necessarily something I want to craft if I already have other cards that do very similar things, because there's multiple cards that do the same thing, right?
Yes, Sweltering Sun,
Yeah, exactly. So instead I'll switch that out, and that's the thing about going back to older formats like historic eternal formats is it's actually a lot easier to do it in our format. Like the deck may be a little bit slower, may not be achieving exactly what that one card does, but you can get pretty close, and you can still make really viable decks this way.
Absolutely. And you can see if maybe you're at that point, you'd love this deck and you're willing to throw that wild card in there. Yeah, that was well put. All right, next, look for deck trends in upcoming releases.
This is really important. When you see like a new set coming out, first of all, this is more about crafting, right? So you see a new set coming out, you have to look at like what the deck trends currently are and where you see the pros shifting with a new set coming. So a good thing to do for this is, hey, you can watch our podcast because we talk about shit like this all the time. Or you can go read articles There's pros are constantly releasing articles, especially when new sets are coming out, about like theory crafting and where they think the set's going to be and how they think it's going to change. And I think this is really important with anything in life. Always put in the research. Yeah. Just like put in the research before you start making decks. And this kind of goes back to one of our first things we talked about, but I think that's super important.
Yeah, definitely. Or obviously listen to us who are doing the research at the same time. That's what we do all week pretty much, I feel like, while we're neglecting our jobs. So
right.
Yeah, this is great. I feel like this is a really hard one to do. But yeah, if you are going to be spending wild cards, make sure that they are in an area to where it's going to transition into the next set, right? Like craft decks that are probably going to be either compatible or even stronger with the next set that releases, or at least that you think so. This one's kind of iffy. This is a less reliable one to do, but if those wild cards are burning a hole in your pocket, this is the way to go. And then last but least, do whatever the fuck you want. It's a game. Have fun. Right.
Last but not least. Yeah, not least at all. Do whatever. Yeah, exactly. This is the one I thought was the most important. Don't fucking, if you don't want to listen to us, don't. If you don't want to listen to the pros, don't. You do whatever the fuck you want. Like, if you want to make the jankiest fucking, I don't even know, Berserker deck in Historic, do it. Do whatever makes you feel good. We're just trying to give you some ways to, I guess, more efficiently use wild cards.
Yeah, exactly. It's a game. Have fun with it. Like, I'm crafting the shit out of that Slivers deck when it comes out. Is it going to be tier 1? No. It's not going to be tier 1. I know it's not. But it's going to be super fun, and I'm going to be...
It's going to win games. I know for sure that, it's going to definitely win games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll be able to pull some... I'm thinking tier 2, hopefully. But... I mean, it's not going to be like, winning tournaments or anything, but I'm going to be I'm not going to feel bad about burning those wilds. But then again, I also have a lot of wilds too. So if getting those, the wins under your belt is more important to you, then follow the other tips that you were giving. But like for me, like I'm kind of a jank player, so this is like way more to my heart, which is why I've made so many of these mistakes, is because I just kind of go with like, I'm trying to have fun with this game, right? Like you only live life once. Might as well craft it up, motherfucker.
and I do have one more tip that I forgot to write down.
Yeah, let's hear it.
If you know a card is going to get banned and you have the spare wild cards, craft that card.
Yes. Yes.
Craft it. Make sure it hasn't been banned yet in any format, because if it has, you won't get your wild cards back. But if you know a card is going to get banned in like a substantial format, like say a card that was only released in Historic, if that card gets banned, you're going to get your wild cards back.
Yes.
So craft it. That way you have it for the future, for Brawl, for something else,
Yeah.
And, so just do it, because it never hurts if you're going to get your cards back, your wild cards back.
And it could get unbanned or unsuspended or whatever in the future.
I don't think they give it to you if it's suspended, but only if it's banned.
That's true. Yeah. So it is kind of risky to do that, but you might be able to get them back. I know I've done it. I did it with Time Warp. Right before they banned Time Warp, I was like, boom, 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 boom. All right. And then
me too.
The next day I got them all back. I was like, yay. Those are going straight into my Brawl deck. All right. So that was fun. Now let's move into our combat phase.
Dorkish combat.
Oh God! All right, everyone.
That'll never get old.
It's old already. This is the horseshit card game. This is a game where I name 5 cards. 4 of them are from our format, Historic. One of them isn't, and it's up to this drunken idiot and all you other maybe drunken idiots out there to figure out which one of those cards it is. Hoshi.
Yeah.
What do you think, man? These are all going to be, by the way, these are all commons.
Okay.
You think you got it? You've gotten it every week so far.
I hope.
I feel like I need to up the cards or something, or figure out something here.
I hope so. I don't know. I mean, once again, I haven't seen these, so I mean, I've been feeling pretty confident. I've been crushing it the past couple weeks.
You've been crushed. I am an idiot here.
Either I'm super smart or you're super dumb. So it's one or the other. Yeah. But I mean, we'll see. Let's. You ready? You ready to do this?
I'm ready. Are you?
Yeah. Fuck it. Let's go. Here we go.
All right. So the first one is Foundry Street Denizen. It is 1 red mana for a creature, goblin, warrior. It says whenever another red creature enters the battlefield under your control, Foundry Street Denizen gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And it is a 1/1. The next one is Displace. It is 2 and a blue for an instant, and it says exile up to 2 target creatures you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. The third one is Tormod's Crypt. It is 0 colorless mana. It is an artifact. It says tap, sacrifice Tormod's Crypt to remove all cards from target player's graveyard from the game. The fourth one is Okiba Gang Shinobi. It is 3 black for a creature, rat, ninja. Has ninjutsu, 3 and a black. And it says whenever Okiba Gang Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, that player discards 2 cards, and it is a 3/2. And then finally we have Prized Unicorn. It is 3 and a green for a creature unicorn. It says all creatures able to block Prized Unicorn do so, and it is a 2/2.
Oh no. I don't like this one.
You don't know this one. You don't.
Okay.
I feel like you're so confident
Generally, yeah. The last couple ones I've been super confident about them because I've known almost all of them. With this one, I'm super confident with one card, which is Torbron's Crypt. I know that one, even though there's the alternate art on here. I play that one, so I know that. The other one I'm pretty confident on is Prized Unicorn, since there's been just a bunch of unicorn nonsense that they've thrown in here. I feel like that might be one. Now, the other 3, Displace, I feel like probably is in the set. The Goblin Warrior is a 1-drop goblin, and it gets +1 until the end of turn whenever another red creature enters the battlefield. I feel like maybe I'd have seen that. And then the Rat Ninja is also another one where I'm kind of like, is ninjutsu even in Historic right now? I don't think it is. I know that there's that, the one rogue guy that's just, but I don't think there's any ninjas yet. Man. And those rats look so cool, and I'm super into ninjas, like a total dork. So I feel like,
you are.
I feel like I'm going with the rat ninjas, just because, like, I feel like that would have, I would have noticed. Ninjas don't slip by me, sir. So I think I'm going with the rat ninja.
Rat ninja.
Yeah. Final answer.
Okiba Gang Shinobi.
Yeah.
Well, sir. You are wrong.
Oh no!
Yeah, you're wrong this week.
Oh no! Really?
Unless Scryfall is lying to me, which Scryfall is pretty fucking accurate.
Yeah.
This is legal in Historic, along with all these other cards, except for Displace.
Really?
Is not legal in Historic.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. That's
it came
crazy.
out in Eldritch Moon, I believe.
Okay.
And it's a fucking wild card. It's really good, actually. I think it'd be viable in Historic, honestly.
Yeah, and I knew I hadn't seen that before, so that was on my, I don't think so list, but I still thought it was higher up just because maybe people didn't play it. I don't know. I mean, blue has pretty good blink effects already, so...
absolutely.
Wow, yeah, I like the one that really surprises me. I know.
Yeah, I got one.
Good job, man. Good job. You got me. This one was super hard. Yeah. The Goblin Warrior is super surprising to me that is in that no dumb goblin deck I've seen has played that yet. So
this one shocked me because I have never seen this played, but Scryfall is like, it's legal in Historic. So I was like, okay, well, fine, it's legal in Historic. I mean, according to you, I sure hope it is.
All right.
I use this. I use this card a lot in Standard before, and I've even used it in some really janky modern decks. So it's surprising to me that I'd never seen it.
Seems strong for a goblin deck, but Yeah, I think we need to fact check you.
It's probably a good
Drunken cheating most likely? Hey guys, this is editing Hoshi / fact checking Hoshi, and I have some disturbing news right now. DrunkenDork confirmed cheating on the podcast this week. So it turns out that the Foundry Street Denizen and the Okiba Gang Shinobi, as well as Displace, are all not in the historic format. So you heard it here first. DrunkenDork cheating on the podcast. I mean, we've all suspected this for a very long time, but now it's definitely confirmed. And sorry to everybody this week. He will be flogged and beaten severely for this. All right, back to the show. But anyways, that was the horse shit card game. Super fun. Man, that was a tough one. I really, even though I lost, I feel like I really enjoyed, the thought process of losing on that one. And how'd you guys do? Did you guys get it right? Is Drunken cheating? Let me know. I think he is. So with that, we're going to go into our main phase 2.
Main phase 2.
All right. And then so on main phase 2, we're going over, that's the wrong one. Historic Brawl. Okay. So Historic Brawl is 100 cards now, which is crazy. It was 60 before. And it was like just events that they would do every once in a while. But there was friendly that you can play against each other, right? And that still exists on there, where there was like no ban list, basically. You could have played whatever. And then they would change the ban list on it randomly. They do a horrible job with like explaining what's going on with Historic Brawl. So been doing a bunch of research this week to let you guys know, because it's an actual queue now for a while. And then it's going to, well, it's an event right now, and then it's going to turn into a queue. So I feel like people need to know what's going on with this, because if you just hop into Brawl right now and you don't want to know what's going on, you're going to have a bad time, most likely. I think just like net decking something and not really understanding what you're getting into. So I feel like we're obligated to kind of, and it's a super fun format. So the first thing that I think we need to go over is talking about picking your commander, because unlike the other queues that are out there, the commander that you pick is going to have a huge impact on who your opponents are going to be. WotC has unbanned a couple cards for Historic Brawl, like Golos and Winota, Joiner of Forces. And when they did that, they were like, these cards are crazy strong. So we don't want people trying to play fun decks going up against like these hyper aggro like win turn 4 or 5 decks, right? What we're going to do is make sure that if you're playing these commanders and like strong 99 cards, that's all you're going to be playing against, right? Unless no one's available. You're going to be stuck playing these ones. So be careful with the commander that you pick, because you might end up playing only powerful commanders. So let's take a look at what WotC deems as powerful commanders. So right here we got Golos, Tireless Pilgrim, no shocker there. And once again, Winona, Joiner of Forces, also super powerful. Another one, Omnath, Locus of Creation, banned card right there, super good. Heliod the Sun Crown is one that surprised me, just because I haven't
surprised me at all.
I mean, I haven't ran into it. That's what surprised me. It is crazy strong, so I get why that is one of the the power cards. And then this one surprises no one. Kinnan, Bonder Prodigy. This card is insane, how fast it can go off. And then we have Brawl, Chief of Compliance, the card that basically got the Brawl format destroyed at first because he was like the only commander. We have Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, to no surprise. And then we have the Prismatic Bridge, which is Asika, God of the Tree, who is also, a super good card. No one's playing Asika. They're all playing the Prismatic Bridge. What do you think about these commanders?
I I think it's cool that they unbanned Winota and Omnath, and they did it like this.
And Golos. Cool. Golos was also banned.
Oh, and Golos. Yeah, you're right. I think it's kind of cool that they did this, but it's also kind of annoying. And it's a little frustrating because, you know, if you build any one of these decks, more than likely you're going to be going into this high tier competitive 1v1 format, which I also don't like because I like to build janky decks. You know, if I'm gonna build an Omnath deck, I want to build it like I don't know, elementals. You know, an elemental deck.
Yeah,
is not gonna be a great deck, right? It's gonna be a pretty piss poor deck to play in any of these.
So from what I have read is, yes, your commander is a huge toll. So the way they're weighing it, okay, so the commander is a huge weight, but after that, the cards in your 99 do matter. And the reason that I say that is because I play a Ashiok Nightmare Renderer deck, and I play nothing but tier 1 decks with that one because I have so many good cards in that deck. So many high power cards like Counterspell and all that stuff. So I play nothing but these cards, but I've never run into another Ashiok deck because like Ashiok is probably like a, you know, mid-level commander, but all the other cards that I have in that deck are insane. So, yeah, so you might be able to get away with playing Omnath and just a bunch of like really terrible, you know, maybe, yeah, maybe. So that's what I've heard. I have not tested out this theory yet. This is still kind of new, but these are all the cards that I've seen really so far. Now, I know you mentioned that you see one on a constant basis at a high tier level that I did not see in here, right?
Oh yeah, Cody. Yeah, you know, it's funny. It's not in here, but I feel like when I play against Golos and Cody. Like those are the two decks I constantly play against. And the bridge, you know, I see that a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
and I don't know, you know, like I see Cody go off, you know, if Cody can get to tap it, you know, tap for its ability,
it's over.
Like that yeah, they could just win right there.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm very shocked that it's not in here. Maybe it eventually will find its way.
Maybe.
Because, yeah, that ability is so good. And, like, I've just been crushed by it many times.
Absolutely. Yeah, so my experience so far has been, like, if I play Winona or something like that, that's it. I'm playing, like, Golos or Winona or Teferi or something like that, right? It's like you're stuck with those. There might be a little variation here and there, like you said, like you run into Cody. I've never run into Cody. I've never run into Heliod or whatever, but supposedly those are also tier 1 commanders. Yeah, just beware. If you're going to make one of those decks, be prepared to only play against tier 1 decks, right? Because that's just what you're going to get stuck in. So I have had a lot more fun, honestly, playing my Tyvar deck, which is an elf deck, because a lot of elves are very low rarity, right? So I'm playing a good dramatic mix of people with that deck. So I've had way more fun playing my Tyvar deck because I'm playing really fun decks and really unique commanders that I've been seeing with that one. So maybe consider picking a weaker commander if you want to play, like you were saying, fun decks, right? Like maybe weaken your commander, weaken the cards that you have in there a little bit, maybe play around with it and see the effects that you're getting. So that was something I feel like WotC should have made very clear that they did not, because this is going to hugely affect the fun that you have with this game, right? Because most people are just going to grab a Golos deck and then they're like, oh, like that one, like our Reddit ranter, right? Oh, I hate 80% of these decks. It's like, well, you're playing a tier 1 deck, so you're only going to be playing other tier 1 decks, which, you know, those decks suck to play against. It's like turn 4, turn 5, the game's over, right? It's not it's not fun. That's not what I like to play in Brawl. But any last comments on those, on picking your commander?
No.
Sweet, dude. All right, let's move next into building your deck. All right, so if you're trying to just pick like some jank deck or something, you know, you're not net decking this, I think like building your deck is this is like very closely follows commander, right? So you need to build your theme around your commander, right? And make it, I think that there's a lot of different ways to do this, right? You can build like a theme like Tyvar is elves, right? So Tyvar is great, but the deck still survives on its own without him. But then there are other decks that are like heavily reliant on your commander, and I think if you do that, you need to have a way of like protecting your commander or something and not dying until you're able to like get him out and protect him. So you really have to kind of consider that. You've played far more commander than I have. What do you think about just kind of when you're building your deck?
Yeah, I do think it's weird, right? There's a reason I'm not a huge fan of this format. I do like Brawl. I do like Historic Brawl. I like 60 card Brawl. I'm not a huge fan of 100 card Brawl. The difference is between this and Commander is this is more competitive, whether you want it to be or not. It just is, right? Because it's a 1v1 format. It's not a 4-player format.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is meant to be more social and have more interactions with multiple people.
Yeah.
So when you're building this, you have to try and find consistency, and that's really, I think, where this kind of differs from Commander. I guess you do want consistency in Commander, but you kind of need it in this, because like without consistency you can't get wins, and at the end of the day you still want to win. You want to have fun.
Absolutely.
But I think winning and fun go hand in hand. You have fun when you win, maybe you have fun when you lose too, but you can only have so much fun when you lose, right? Like after a while it'll get boring. So I think that's really where it differs, is just like because it is 1v1. But
you don't have that buffer zone like you do in Commander, where everyone's kind of like feeling each other out at the beginning and seeing what's going on, right? Like you don't have that here. The person's hyper focused on you, so it is much different than Commander. So you have to do your deck building accordingly. I think the CMC cost needs to be a little bit lower in this deck than it can be in Commander. Sweet. All right, next. This is something that's like really crazy, I think, in comparison to normal Historic, is the Historic Brawl staples, because we have cards that are available to us in Brawl that we do not have available in actual Historic. So let's just burn through these, dude. Let's get right into the first one, which is the one that is going to be basically an auto include in almost every single deck. And for that, we have Command Tower, Field of the Dead, Chromatic Lantern, and Arcane Signet. Now, two of these are like, definitely auto, like Command Tower and Arcane Signet for sure. Absolutely going in like any like multicolored deck. Definitely is getting those.
Agreed.
Field of the Dead, I feel like also, because even in a 2-color deck, you can get up to 7 different types of lands, right? It might be a little bit slower in a 2-color deck, but you could still get there. And then Chromatic Lantern, I think any deck that is running 3 or more colors, Chromatic Lantern's an auto include in there. That's my belief. I know you think it should be like 4 or so we were talking about, but
I mean, I do agree with Command Tower and Arcane Signet, like 2 of the best cards you can have in this.
Amazing.
Whether it's 60 or 100 card, they just work really well. I don't think Arcane Signet slows you down enough to not justify putting it in. It doesn't matter if you're a 1-color deck, a 2-color deck, a 5-color deck. It works in any color deck, because the moment you put it out, you can tap it for mana. So you can play 2 spells on turn 2. And I think Command Tower, 1-color deck, it doesn't matter, but 2-color or more, it works in every deck.
So
Field of the Dead, I think it becomes a little trickier, because 2-color decks, it can run it, you're right. But you definitely need to run a lot more non-basic lands in a 2-color deck, and 3-color or more, you put it in every single deck for sure. And then Chromatic Lantern, this is where we kind of it does work in 3-color decks for sure. I would never put it in a 2-color deck. It works amazing in 4 or 5-color decks.
Yeah, absolutely. And then these are the ones that I consider, like I'm the one that curated this one. So, if you're cussing out DrunkenDork or whatever right now, I mean, that's fine. He deserves it anyways. But,
absolutely.
So this is what I have taken from what I have seen from playing Brawl so far as staples that belong in like any deck. People can use these. And from like a poll that I took on Reddit so far of what other people believe are like, just an auto include and everything, as well as these other cards. So this is, some people get real touchy about this, and I understand that. If you think we're wrong about something, let us know. I mean, like,
absolutely.
I love, getting corrected about stuff if I'm wrong, or like, hearing about other cool like staples that I think would auto include. So now let's go into specific colors and what we think the colors are, the staples are for those colors. And we're going to start off strong with like probably the one that has the most staples, I think, which is blue. So, well, no, this one does not have the most staples, but it has like probably the craziest staples, I think, because we could have included almost every single counter spell, I feel like, in this deck. But I went with, probably the two strongest ones that we have in this format, which is Tail's End, which basically can counter any commander. Right, because it counters a legendary spell, which your commander has to be legendary. So it's a 2-mana counter the commander spell. And then we have counter spell, which is also a 2-mana counter any spell. This is not legal in normal historic, so beware about crafting this. This is only going to be useful in historic Brawl. And then we have Casmina's Transmutation and Frogify, which are commander hate. They will turn the commander into a 1/1 frog, basically. That does nothing, right? It loses all of its abilities. That's only if it's a creature, but this is crazy hate for a commander. This basically makes them have to kill their own commander to be able to get it back, which is...
It's actually better than a kill spell.
Yeah, it's so much better, right? Especially against Golos, right? Golos is super annoying when he comes down because he, like... every time he comes down, he adds another land, which makes it you only need one more land to recast him, and then he has that activated ability on him. So you hit him with this, and then boom, whatever, he's a 1/1 frog, and you don't have to worry about him anymore. And they usually do not have a way of killing, their own commander. And then we have Time Warp, which is another banned card, recently banned, which is 5 mana for taking an extra turn. Insane. And then another.
And if you did our advice, like we said earlier, and you made it right before it was gonna get banned, you got your wild cards back.
That's right. So good. Yeah, this is exact because I had 0 of these before that ban went down. So I've had it in my decks and it's been great. I've won games from it for sure. Taking an extra turn is one of the most powerful and annoying things that you can do in Magic, which is why it fits perfectly in blue. Speaking of the worst and most annoying thing that you can do, another old school ban that we have right here is Agent of Treachery. This card was all kinds of broken when it was legal because of blinking effects. So if you're playing any type of ETB deck, Agent of Treachery, super auto include in there.
Auto include.
Yeah, it's a creature.
Oh, keep going.
No.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's just saying it's a creature that you gain control of target permanent. So you can steal your opponent's Field of the Dead, like whatever is on their side, you steal it, right? It's insane. And then if you own 3 or more of their permanents at the end of the turn, you draw 3 cards. It's so crazy. I mean, it's 7 mana, so it's expensive. But what were you going to say about Agent?
Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't matter if you have ETB effects or not in your deck. I feel like this is just a strong card.
It is.
Like, stealing things is it's a powerful thing, especially a commander. If you steal, like, some decks, they revolve around their commander. They need their commander.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of the ones in the top tier format, like, Winota. Winota really heavily relies on Winota, and so does Golos, and so does... whatever, the one that starts with a K, like,
Kinnan.
all those, Kinnan. You really, like, it really slows those decks down, and it's a great card.
Yeah, absolutely. So these decks or these cards, all insane. Blue, I mean, who would have figured blue is insane? So let's move on to another insane color, maybe Watsy's new favorite color, actually, which is going to be green. And in green, we have quite a few cards in this one that are considered staples. A couple of them are contested, but Guardian Project I think is just insane. It fits perfectly in Commander. I'm surprised they didn't ban this one because it's like the nature of this card is like whenever you cast a non-token creature that enters the battlefield under control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control, you draw a card. And so you're not going to have another creature of the same name because it's Brawl. You're only allowed, it's a singleton format. So this card slots perfectly into singleton. Next we have Heroic Intervention, which is such a good card. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn for 2 mana. Like this is like an auto include. Absolutely. And then we have Drunken's card that he seemed to love for a while, which is really good commander hate, which is Kenrith's Transformation, where it's an aura where you can turn the person's commander into an elk. Now, unlike Frogify, it's a 3/3, but you do draw a card from this, which is a little better, which is great. And then let's get into Llanowar Elf, which is probably just the best green card, I think. Like, can you think? Yeah,
probably. Yeah, I mean that or Guardian Project. It really just depends. Like Llanowar Elf is a great card, but the thing is, the caveat to that is that if you're running a 5-color deck, maybe you don't want to run Llanowar Elves or even a 4-color deck.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Gilded Goose might be better. Yeah, situationally, I think it can, like any of these cards can be wrong, right? But I think uncontested Llanowar Elf is probably the most included like green card in like any deck ever.
Probably, yeah.
It's a 1-drop ramp card, which is
so we get Birds
insane.
of Paradise.
Yeah, yeah, Bolt the Bird, exactly. This is our bird right here. So don't forget about Lanny. And then next we have Scavenging Ooze, which is like, God, this card is so good right now. The graveyard is so powerful, and being able to like remove stuff from their graveyard and then gain life and grow this thing. It's just so good. I mean, we don't need to talk about Scavenging Ooze. This card is so good. All right. These other two, though, are worth mentioning because they are banned in Historic, and they are super good. And one is one that you're not super hype on, which is Once Upon a Time. This wasn't really on my spectrum. I played against people that play it, but if you have it in your opening hand, you get to cast it for free, and you get to look at the top 5 cards of your library, and then you can reveal a land or creature from among them and put it in your hand. And then if it's not in your opening hand, right, if it's not the first spell that you cast each game, then it costs 2 mana. So, it's not super great if you have it, if it's not your first spell, but if it's your first spell, I mean, there's a reason they banned it, right? It's just the consistency isn't really there, right?
Yeah, so my problem with this, and I know, if people watch this, they're probably going to shit on me about it, is I just don't think it's good in 100 card.
Yeah.
Because there's actually a 1-mana spell that you look at the top 4, and it does exactly the same thing, except it's 4 cards, it's 1 mana. I would much rather have that in a 100 card.
Yeah.
Whereas I think this works a lot better in 60 card 4-of or even 60 card Brawl. I think it works better because the consistency is higher, like the odds of you getting it is better.
But is that card an instant though? I don't think
I don't know.
I don't think it is. This isn't.
But
instant.
I mean, regardless, I wouldn't probably run neither of them. I would run this 4 of these in a 60 card constructed deck for sure. But I don't think I would almost ever put this in a 100 card deck just because the odds are so low. 1 in 100 chance you're going to draw this.
I respect that. And I include this because this was kind of an overwhelming response from people that this should be a staple.
And that's fair. Yeah, I don't know shit, so those people are probably right. I'm more than likely right.
Another one that I'm kind of shaky on is another banned card, which is insane, but this can also be a dead card in your deck. And this is Veil of Summer. Which is a 1-drop, and you draw a card if an opponent casts a blue or a black spell, which are very dangerous spells. And then spells you control can't be countered this turn if you and a permanent you control, permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and black until the end of turn. So you draw a card, your spells can't be countered, and everything becomes hexproof from blue and black. This card is absolutely fucking bonkers, and there's no disputing why this was banned, right? But that's because you can sideboard it. So I do feel like it is, safe in Brawl to let this thing loose. What do you think?
Yeah, I think unlike Once Upon a Time, I think the opportunity cost is way higher with this. Like, the ability to protect your deck, because it is only one card in your deck, is, it's great because blue and black are two of the most popular cards you can, two of the most popular colors you can run in Historic, especially if you're playing a top tier commander. Generally, all of the top tier commanders either have blue or black or both. So definitely if you're running...
Not Winota,
if you're running, not Winota. Yeah, that's the only one though.
Yeah.
Out of all of them. So that's what I'm saying. The opportunity cost is high, right? Like, the opportunity to use this is really good because you're more than likely it's going to work when you're playing in Historic Brawl. And I just really, really think this is a good card.
Oh no, absolutely. And if it does go off, it's incredible. The combat trick, shifting the tide from this card is absolutely insane. Cool. So green is insane. No shocker to anybody. Let's get into one of probably the worst colors in Commander, but has some pretty sweet stuff, I think, in Brawl right now. And that's white. And if you're not a Commander player, white has been shit on constantly in Commander for forever, as far as I know. But we got some pretty good stuff in here that we think are just straight staples in this format. And one of them, to no one's surprise, is Swords to Plowshare. If you haven't seen this card, it's because it's banned in normal Historic. It is a 1 white instant that exile target creature its controller gains life equal to its power. This card, we've already had a debate about this card on the show, that it's too powerful for Historic, but you can have it in Brawl. So if you're running white, absolutely put this card in your deck. This is a no-brainer right here.
I think it's probably one of the single most powerful cards in all of white, in all of Magic's history as far as white goes.
I think
incredibly powerful.
I think almost all the other cards we talked about, there's a pretty good argument for not putting one in your deck in some weird situation. But if you're running white, I really can't think of a reason not to put Swords to Plowshare in your deck, right? It's just it's so good. Next we have Settle the Wreckage, which is another exile effect card. Now it does have a downside to it of every attacking creature that you exile, they will get basic land cards. But there is a lot of 5-color decks in the format, so they might struggle to get out basic lands with this. So the downside of it might not be super high. And I think go ahead.
I think this card is really good too because unlike Wrath of God or Day of Judgment or whatever the fuck it's called, it's a one-sided board wipe, which is super important, right? A lot of times, and it hits things that are hexproof or indestructible because it exiles them. It's really valuable against decks that are buffing their creatures up with enchantments, for example, because generally they're only swinging in with 1 or 2 creatures, and what they're doing is they're making them indestructible, or they have cards that give them hexproof or something, and it's just a great way to get rid of something like that. And you can't normally get rid of.
I like that you said that it's a one-sided board wipe, which is you can run this in a creature deck, right? You can be a creature-focused deck. No one's going to see this coming in a creature-focused deck, right? They're going to be like, what the hell is he doing, right? Creature decks don't run board wipes most of the time, but, you can run Settle the Wreckage and totally blow them out, which would be a surprise to them. And which is the same thing with our next card that we're going to talk about, which is probably my favorite card in white right now, because this has just led to the most nices I've ever got. Probably sincere nices I think I've ever got from a counter spell, which is Mana Tithe, which is a one-drop white, which counters target spell unless this player plays, 1 for it. This card is just the what I never thought that a white deck was going to counter spell me card, and it works so often. It's so good. I feel I absolutely love Mana Tithe. I feel like it's a staple.
Yeah, I think this card's great. It's a get 'em card. I think eventually it's not going to be that way anymore because people are going to see it more and more. But it's just so fun, especially when you're not running blue. To get them is it always feels really good.
Like in a Winona deck,
1 mana. That's all you had to spend. You got greedy.
Oh yeah, because they don't think, they're like, he's not running blue, I don't need to worry about it, right? And so it works so often, right? Like people just don't see it coming. And then next we have one that's maybe controversial, I think, is Smothering Tithe. Which this is absolutely a staple in Commander. Now, there are plenty of decks that would not want to run, like hyper aggressive decks. I don't think want to run Smothering Tithe, but like anything that is kind of like dirtily, even a little bit, you cannot contest with the power of this card. It's so insane. What do you think about Smothering Tithe in Brawl?
It's great. Yeah, I actually really like it. I don't know why people are, it is 4 mana, but I think it's really good.
Okay, good. I'm kind of the same way. Like, I feel like there's certain decks where it doesn't belong in, but I feel like in most it does. So that was white, which surprisingly had only 4. Not surprisingly, I guess. Now let's go into black, and black was a hard one, I feel like, to find really staples in, because black's all over the place in what it actually does. So let's go first with Blood Chief's Thirst. I think this is absolutely the best removal for Brawl. What do you think?
Yeah, I think as of right now, until the new sets come out, this is the best removal we have. And like, you could sub this in with any removal, honestly, whatever you feel comfortable using. But I just think black has the best removal there is, and a consistent best removal, besides Swords to Plowshare. I think, this is probably the best pick of them all, though.
It's so good. The only thing that sucks is it's not an instant, but this kills Kennen, and then it kills another huge problem, which is Planeswalkers in this format. You have to you can't forget that like Teferi and all those things exist in this format, and you need to be able to kill like powerful Planeswalkers, and black can do that. And then the next one that we have is another one that you might not recognize because it is banned in Historic, which is Dark Ritual. This card is insane. Absolutely insane. You've had more experience with Dark Ritual. I've only had it played against me. What do you think, Dork?
I think it's a good card. I think there's times where you really just don't want to draw this card, but overall, I think I was saying the opportunity cost was high earlier. I meant to say low. The opportunity cost is low here, where it's like if you getting it in the beginning is way better than it feels really good, and it doesn't matter if you get it in the end and it doesn't do much because there's still something you can do with it.
Maybe
the value it has, it turn like the first couple turns is way higher, is so high that getting it later in the game doesn't matter so much.
Yeah, I think that this game is it's insane in the beginning, especially if you're playing high mana cost stuff. And then next we have Phyrexian Arena, which I think is just, this is in Historic. I think it's a really good card, and you have extra life in this format, so I think this is a no-brainer for Phyrexian.
Yep.
And then next we have another one that no one is probably shocked about, which is Thoughtseize, which is a card that sees constant play to everybody's dismay, getting turn 1 Thoughtseed, right? And like you mentioned, it's not going to be as consistent, but I still think it's a crazy powerful card. The loss of 2 life is less significant in Brawl, so I still think it's a justifiable staple in this format, as much as I hate this card. I do think it's a staple.
I actually disagree. I think I said opportunity cost is low on Dark Ritual and Veil of Summer. I actually think the opportunity cost is high here because like it turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. This card it reveals your opponent's hand, which is a big deal, and it removes a card from there, which also can be a pretty big deal. But I just don't, because the consistency isn't there. I don't think it's powerful enough. I don't think removing just 1 card out of your opponent's hand is powerful enough in this format. Because like it's a single card format. So generally a deck doesn't revolve around 1 card in an opponent's hand, where it can in a 60 card for constructed deck. That's my only thing about this. I'm not saying it's a bad card. I just don't think it's it's a great card in Historic Brawl.
In Brawl, yeah. It's worked out pretty well for me in my Ashiok deck, but yeah,
That's good.
I completely understand what you're saying, and yeah, there's a lot of card draw in this format, so it's great early, but yeah, the opportunity thing. Next, red. So we got Lightning Bolt, which is another card that you probably haven't seen because it's insane, and I hope they never release it in Historic because it is a 1 red for 3 damage to any target. This is one of the most busted cards to ever be printed, I feel like, and why not be a staple in red for Brawl? And then
it's a great card. I think I can't wait till it's legal in Historic. All right, keep going.
Toxic. And then next we have Fires of Invention, which was one of my favorite cards, I feel like, that got banned. This is probably out of all the bans that happened, this was the one that I was most sad about because it was just so much fun to play. I mean, I totally get why it got banned and I wasn't upset that it got banned, but I mean, I was kind of sad about it because it was so fun to play with. You get to cast 2 spells for free basically for the amount of lands that you have each turn, but it turns off your like instants and sorceries on your opponent's turn. So I felt like it was kind of fair in that way. Like it did have a negative effect to it, and it doesn't belong in certain decks because of that reason. Any deck that's running counter spells probably doesn't want to run Fires of Invention, but man, this card can be crazy powerful in the right deck. And I feel like if you have the deck that can use this, which is a vast majority of them, I feel like in Brawl, you should include Fires of Invention because you can just get some nutty turns with this thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Fires of Invention is good, and yeah, it's definitely a must-add. It's a really good card.
Yeah, I mean, if you're heavily reliant on counter spells, that's probably the only reason I would exclude this card. And then next we have another card that's probably no shock, which is Faithless Looting, because it's draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. So this fixes your hand, and you can do it twice. Because it has flashback. Faithless Looting, it's busted. It's probably on the way to the bandwagon at some point, but hopefully not for a while. I really like Faithless Looting. I feel like it makes a lot of fun decks. And so, I haven't seen it in Brawl yet, but I feel like it's a staple, right? Like, why not include it? It's great, especially if you're running any kind of spells deck. So that was our our staples, and then next we have a ban list here. These are all the cards that are banned in Brawl. So these are where we have Channel, Demonic Tutor, which sucks, Drannith Magistrate, which stops a commander from being cast, Gideon's Intervention, which can also lock out the commander, Lutri Spellslinger, which would be in literally every Brawl deck, so they like auto ban that in Commander and Brawl, Meddling Mage, which can also Commander hate, Nature's Order, which is just busted, Nexus of Fate, which is a disgusting card that should never be talked about, Oko Thief of Crowns, another disgusting card, Ruined Halo, which once again Commander hate, Sorcerer's Spyglass, Commander hate, Tainted Pack, which works in any Brawl deck, so that, and then Teferi Time Raveler, a card that basically turned Arena into Hearthstone. One of the worst cards ever printed, I feel like. I hated that card to my core. Any thoughts about the ban list, Drunken?
No, I think it's appropriate. I mean, I think it is kind of weird, if they're going to have a high tier, maybe they should open these up to a high tier.
Yeah.
Just to see what it's like, or at least have some kind of weird cube for them. But for the most part, I think, it's fair.
I think Demonic Tutor can be allowed, just because I don't think there's too many crazy combos that I've seen in here, but maybe not. I don't know. I mean, it is an insane card, so probably not. All right, and then next, let's go to banned in Historic, but not in Brawl. So there's some cards that you probably don't have because they're banned in the actual Historic format, but you are allowed to have them in Brawl, and most of those are from the Mystical Archives, which you might have been able to get through drafting. That was the only way you were able to actually get these cards, right? Which was Lightning Bolt, Time Warp, which was, you could have had that because that recently got banned, but Lightning Bolt never touched Historic. Counterspell also never touched Historic. Swords to Plowshare never touched Historic, and Dark Ritual never touched Historic, but those are all included. And then these are ones that were once in Historic, and then now are banned in Historic, but are not banned in Brawl, which is Agent of Treachery, Field of the Dead, Fires of Invention, Once Upon a Time, Thassa's Oracle. That's probably one of the only ones we haven't talked about so far because, I mean, it's busted, but I don't think it's crazy in Historic Brawl. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, which once again, one of the worst cards to play against in normal Historic, but I don't think it's super busted in Brawl. Veil of Summer and Wilderness Reclamation, probably one of the most toxic decks to play against in normal Historic. But once again, I don't see a problem with it in Brawl. So
it's not a problem. You know, the consistency isn't there, and that's really what you're trying to avoid.
Exactly. So do you have a problem with any of these being allowed in Brawl?
No, not at all.
Me either, man. Awesome. Yeah. So that was a lot about Historic Brawl. Holy shit. Any last thoughts, Drunken?
Let's move it on to the end step because we are going real long today.
Clean up.
Let's just skip the end step because, we're not going to get into that today. And end step is just our social media wrap up where we have a Discord, which is freaking sweet. Our, YouTube show is great. We are on all of the podcast, forums like iTunes and Spotify and all that kind of stuff. We would appreciate it if you gave a like and subscribe. Every time you like the show, I punch DrunkenDork in the balls. So, I mean, there's that to look forward to.
Is that happening?
Oh, shit.
How many are you building this up? Am I just gonna get like an onslaught of fucking ball punching when I see you next?
No, man, no. I mean, I wouldn't.
Terrifying.
I wouldn't do that.
I don't like that at all. I didn't fucking consent to this.
Yeah. So I mean, so like, and then it's probably not gonna happen, but it's going to. And then so that was it. That was our cleanup, and let's just go straight into discard. And
discard phase. Drink 'em up, boys.
Discard is where we finish drinking our drinks by pounding them like a couple of idiots, and it's where we say our farewells to you guys. So thank you.
What? Our farewells?
Yeah, that was.
How many drinks have you had, Hoshi? All right.
Farewells. All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. This is a fun episode. We talk too much. Cheers, everybody.